Hi, my name is Lara Roldan. I'm 17 years old and I'm in 11th grade. I've been doing online school with AVS for the past 3 years. The main reason I joined AVS is because of my family and I's lifestyle. We've been living on the road in a 1984 Bluebird Wonder Lodge red bus for the past 7 years, and we travel pretty much everywhere around Canada and the United States when there's no COVID, obviously. And we travel, we explore, we hike, we mountain bike, and we rock climb.
Hi, my name is Mathilde Roldan and I do online school with Aurora Virtual School. I've been with AVS since 8th grade and my favorite class is English. We are both cross-country mountain bike athletes and have been competing at the national level for a few years now. We're part of a development team based out of Squamish, BC.
I train and ride pretty much everywhere we go, so whether it's in the desert in Cactus or here in the backwoods of BC, and it's just really fun to be able to train and ride in different conditions. Biking has become a really important aspect of my life. It's very time consuming. Our life pretty much revolves around it now. We travel, we go to races, and it's the main reason why we are still traveling right now. But it is very hard sometimes to do 15 to 20 hours of training a week on a bike and travel and spend time with family and still do school and do it well. And that's when yes for us was a very beneficial thing because it allowed us to do all of these things.
Well, we decided to live on the road for many reasons, but mostly for educational purposes because we were home for all the girls' childhood. We had a farm, a little homestead, and that was a very rich environment. But after a bit, this became a very demanding situation, and we felt like we didn't have any time to travel or even go camping because we had the animals and the garden. So we decided to shift our life to a more freedom-oriented life. We bought a trailer and started traveling to discover the States with the girls and be pretty much in a changing learning environment and to learn together.
After a full year of traveling in the trailer, we decided we wanted something sturdier to call our forever home. And so we bought the bus that we're living in today. AVS is very different from what we did in the past. We started out when we were very young, just homeschooling with mom as our main teacher with different curriculums, and then until 6th grade. Then we started different online programs.
As a homeschooling parent, I found it really hard to find resources for high school that were engaging for the girls. The online courses were either boring or childish or very independent, so there was no relationship with the teacher, there was no feedback.
It just didn't make the learning experience, which should always be a fun one, not interesting at all. It wasn't captivating whatsoever, and I just didn't feel like the courses that I was taking were preparing me for later on. And that really differs from AVS.
When we found AVS, it was like any homeschooler's dream come true. It was amazing. It was finally our girls were learning with a passionate teacher. They were having conversations. They were like, their whole learning experience changed. They were looking forward to their classes every week. It was a game changer.
We met with the teachers and we had a great connection. In our first year we did one class and that was the favorite class of all time. And so that kind of stuck with us, and then we were doing all our classes with AVS.
Since the Yukon is such a vast territory with a very small population, it can be hard for children outside of Whitehorse to get the high school education they need. This was one of the reasons that motivated Ed Frizant and Kate Clark to create Aurora Virtual School.
AVS began in 2013. After a year of planning, 2014, Mr. Clark and I actually were allowed to hire somebody. The first person to work with us was a fellow by the name of Gordon Puddester. So that was our humble start. And then I think Ms. Furrow joined us that following year. Was it 2014?
AVS is an online school based out of Whitehorse, Yukon. The programs meet all Yukon Territory mandated learning outcomes and are directed by highly trained Yukon certified teachers. As with any other Yukon public school, there is no cost for e-learning programming for Yukon residents. AVS offers grade 8 to grade 12. However, 2 years ago they added kindergarten to grade 7.
Probably in the first 6 years, maybe 5 years for sure that we were in operation, we were at least doubling every year.
The Hansen family has been with AVS since the very beginning.
At the start, like when they were first just getting ready to launch, because we were one of the original homeschooling families, and so they knew that we would be a part of it, and so they kind of consulted with us a little bit about what kind of things would work well and what kinds of things wouldn't. And yeah, we kind of had different experiences with all the kids. Like Alex, our oldest son, he was in correspondence until he left home, and then he went straight into full-time private/public school when he was out to play hockey, and had a very smooth transition. Mallory did all of her classes until college, university, through online learning. And now Joe is kind of like a hybrid, like he's doing some of each. And
2 years ago, I watched this launch from NASA. I think it was from the Mars rover. I decided right then and there that I wanted to be a rocket scientist. I really wanted to learn more complex math, and so we signed up for AVS.
I didn't like the public school. It didn't fit my learning style or social abilities, I guess, or disabilities or lack thereof. So I did HCOS for a year. Then they kind of phased out and didn't work so well. So we had to look around for another online school. AVS was there, and yeah, it worked pretty well. I think it pushes me more, for sure. And yeah, the social aspect is completely different, which I appreciate. So I think that helps with being concentrated on schoolwork more so.
There's so much social pressure that is eliminated. And high schools especially they have the potential to be sometimes a hostile environment for some students, right? And because it's so dynamic and there's a lot of different types of pressures that go on.
When I was 7, I had brain cancer, and after I got out of the hospital when I was 8 and started school again, I had trouble with loud environments and balancing my social life with my with doing well in school. So I went to an art therapist. Basically, with an art therapist, you talk and you draw. So I drew what I thought actual school was going to be: non-colorful, confusing, frustrating, etc. And what it would be like to be in homeschool, I drew this. As you can see, it's more colorful and artistic. I made a decision to homeschool instead because I thought it would be kind of easier for me to focus in that environment.
And are you recovered from your cancer? Have you fully fought it?
Yes.
Oh wow, that's amazing. I'm really glad to hear that.
I knew AVS was there. My husband's a teacher at the local school in our tiny town here, and so we discussed like how we would deliver education for her at the outset when I pulled her. But I felt she needed some unschooling to unhook from the expectations that school built up in her that she couldn't. Well, I felt she was meeting in certain ways, but she wasn't supported enough to meet them in other ways. So we spent a couple of years mostly just unschooling, drawing, rehabilitating her hands so she could actually type and she could actually do things with her hands again. That was the toughest part for her to overcome. So getting into AVS was more about Ruby's desire to be working for NASA at some point in the future, which I thought was a pretty cool goal.
AVS's mandate is not to replace traditional schools, but rather to support the learning of their students where possible. Whether this entails support for schools where the development of courses not offered in-house, supporting other blended classes, and even providing high school students with a specific course through e-learning while they're attending a local school, AVS strives to meet the individual learning needs of Yukon students. But how does AVS differ from traditional schools?
I think we differ in a lot of ways. One, our flexibility. Students can learn anytime, anywhere. We have students all over the territory. We've had students all over the world. We've had students of all ages too, since you don't necessarily have that stigma of being in a classroom. We can have students who are returning to upgrade, students who want to get ahead. So we kind of have a neat variety there. I think we also develop relationships differently than the classroom. We have kind of the stigma of, oh, it's online, you're not going to have anyone to talk to or have a relationship with the teacher. But in lots of cases, lots of our students who attend regularly and participate, you kind of get to know your teachers a little bit. And in the online world, students are often more willing to share and to communicate than they would maybe sitting in a classroom with 30 kids.
I think I was kind of already adapted to it before I started. Like I was more geared towards online learning. Then when I found it, it really clicked. So obviously my grades went up to some extent. And then yeah, with COVID happening, like a lot of people struggled through that, but obviously I was already in online school then, so it worked very well. Like I didn't have any problems with that.
Finding EVS and seeing my girls so engaged in their schooling really changed my view of high school homeschooling, because in my mind it was impossible to provide them with as rich an experience as I saw other kids having in their classrooms. But right now, all I can say is that they're having the best of both worlds. They really have the freedom to ride, to travel, to create their schedule, while at the same time having those amazing teachers that are passionate, that are giving them high quality education, and with whom they have a real relationship.
Before AVS, it was quite stressful because I didn't feel like I was being properly prepared for what lied beyond high school. There's nothing that can be compared to AVS really. They have really a unique forum and program that at least I and no one else that I know have seen anywhere else, or that's being offered by any other school in all of Canada.
All the kids were really involved in sport and traveled a lot. And the other part of it too is my husband worked shift work a lot of the time. So it made it easier for him to spend time with the kids when they were around and when he was around, so that their schedules were a little bit more flexible, allowed for a little more family time.
The motivation behind the lifestyle change was to create a life in which we had more time together as a family, where we could discover new things, new places, new cultures together, and really be immersed in that culture while we learn more about it.
It provides a basic framework with flexibility, right? Human flexibility, because you can connect to the teachers directly and really talk out what's going on. Because we've had a couple situations where we've had to talk about like lengths of exams and turning off the timers and stuff to reduce anxiety, and they're very open to helping with that. And now she's back on a timer and it's not freaking her out as much. So it's like there's room to grow and to address certain issues, right?
It's allowing me right now to do my training and do the school that I have to do to still, be able to achieve my athletic goals and dreams, but also meet the academical requirements and do the classes that I need to do to graduate.
With AVS, you can take it with you. You can just bring your computer, and you can, if you have a few hours in the hotel, you can get some work done if you need to. So I was usually able to, as long as I was able to not be distracted from my teammates, try to get it done.
I feel like it provides students with maybe more ownership than some other formats, maybe, in that we're here to help. We have tons of time to get extra one-on-one help if you want it, but there puts some ownership on students for their own learning, which is critical to success and a lifelong skill.
In the physical classroom, you can see when someone's not working and you can go sit by them, or you can use proximity to motivate them. You can help them if they're doing it wrong. You can kind of be that be observing what they're doing more, and here there's that separation. Having that support system, both here and at home, to be able to support you to do your work.
Just by the nature of how the environment operates, you have to become a better communicator.
Yeah, and you have to be responsible for it, right? Like if you don't get stuff done, nobody's going to remind you and nobody's going to babysit you. So, you know, it does, I think, breed a little more responsibility.
Understanding that all those routines that you used to have when you were in a traditional school setting, they don't follow you into the online world. You have to make a different set of routines that allow you to perform at your best.
You know, we have our due dates, and when we check in, we're constantly like, okay, you should be done lesson 1, 2, 3. You know, and we try to give students like guidelines of where they should be and expectations. We send progress reports home to parents.
A lot of times students kind of come to AVS because they're like, oh, I don't like my teacher, or like I don't want to go to school for the afternoon. I think it's really important that students and their parents especially, because it's hard to recognize that in yourself when you're a kid, just think about, is it a good fit for me or not?
The students that are using AVS are going to be from different walks of life sometimes. They had a lot of athletes, but then they also had some other kids that were, you know, maybe working during the day or something, or, you know, had other things going on. And so trying to balance between two extremely different groups of students has been, I think, pretty well done.
One of the values of this program is the anonymity, but with the anonymity comes the fact that, you know, you as a student might have been shocked to know that there was, you know, a 45-year-old student also in your class with you, or our oldest student having been 63 years old.
I feel like we get a really nice mix of students too from a lot of different places, and that can facilitate different types of discussions because everybody in the class is so different. And it's nice too when you have students from smaller communities, they're able to come and take a class with lots of different people rather than just being by themselves or being the only person in their grade, because we're so rural up here in Yukon.
AVS recognizes that everyone learns best in a way that is uniquely theirs, and that many children benefit from teacher-directed learning outside of traditional schools. AVS teachers believe that it is important for students to develop meaningful relationships with their teachers, peers, and learning material, and to have access to one-on-one support in order to be successful.
AVS is doing really well. She loves her teachers. So that's her buy-in, right? Connection to the teachers. And so you don't lose that with this DL for some reason. And I guess it's because the classes are in virtual person. So there's more of a connection.
We have a way of really connecting with the teachers and establishing relationships with them. They know what they're talking about. They're all very, very competent teachers. They're passionate about their work and what they do, and that shows through their teaching. In the past year, I've had multiple concussions where I've had to take time off of school to recover from them, and the teachers have always been open and have, you know, always been open talking to me and finding solutions to help me get caught up once I was okay again to do school.
Well, this year, my training is like always pretty much at the same time as I have my pre-calculus classes. So I almost never can make them. And my teachers are always very accommodating, and they just tell me that, you know, come and meet me the next day at 4 o'clock, and then I can still get help from them whenever I need it. And they're always open to help. So it's very helpful.
It's really comforting to know that they're there and they're understanding of my situation and my lifestyle.
The teachers are super accessible, and Ruby's challenged a few answers on questions that she got wrong on quizzes and stuff, and they could discuss it, which I felt was really good. So that's very positive, right? They're very open.
Across the board, we had excellent teachers and really supportive teachers. And to this point, all of my kids have had some kind of special circumstances that needed to be dealt with and addressed. And the school, Ed in particular, has always been great at helping us navigate whatever needed to happen. They're all doing really well in traditional school now. So I think for me, that's a really good indication that things went great, you know, like they've made the transition to whether it be public school or college or university, and in all cases are doing really well in those situations now.
If we had 50 teachers, it would be harder. But because we're a small team that works incredibly well together, makes the world of difference.
I feel very fortunate as a Yukon resident and student to have them to teach me what I need to know and help me grow, and they're always there to help me and support me and just are always open, and they want me to succeed, and it really shows.